I grew up all over India. My father was a doctor in the Indian Air Force, and my mother was a freedom fighter who fought during the struggle for Indian independence. Their impact on me was very deep because being a doctor, my father had to work with a lot of sick people, and that always influences the children. And my mother's struggle during the fight to end colonialism also had a great impact on me. As I grew older, I think the next big influence on my life was in college and my peer group, where I worked in neighboring villages in Delhi on adult literacy. It was such a great revelation when you work with poor, rural, uneducated, illiterate people and help them learn how to read, and the sort of gleam of hope that comes in their eyes when they can read their own letters and they can communicate more effectively. So these were probably the two most important influences, my parents and my peer groups in college. I have been a diplomat with the Indian government from 1980 to 1993. And when you're a national diplomat, you're trying to promote national interests. You're trying to promote the prosperity of your own citizens and the security of your country and your citizens. But it is no longer a question of only promoting national security and national prosperity. Our global world has become so intertwined that global issues deeply affect national security and national prosperity. And what I'd learned in the UN during my years of multilateral diplomacy, working on bigger things like the Earth Summit in Rio in 1992 and the Children's Summit in 1990, is that there is no way you can meet your national aspirations without looking at global issues, which are issues without borders, which impact on everyone in the world. So it is then that I realized that it's not enough to pursue only national interest, but one has to be a good global citizen and pursue global interests. That was what really inspired me to work from the United Nations. The SDGs are a path-breaking platform for peace and prosperity for our planet and for our people, which we developed and signed off in 2015. Now, SDG Learn is the process and the online platform which will bring the SDGs not to thousands, but I hope to millions of people. And if we want real change in the world, we have to reach millions of people. So through learning online, through awareness, through more specialized learning on this SDG Learn platform, we'll be able to spread the message and tackle the basic problem in the SDGs, which is wide awareness to push for change in all our countries and for all our citizens. There are several challenges, and I think the biggest challenge is, of course, in the area of public awareness. The SDGs are not widely enough known, and I think in enhancing the awareness on the SDGs is probably the biggest issue facing the implementation of the SDGs. The second big problem of the SDGs is political and leadership, and getting a political pushback on the realization of the SDGs. We have also issues on the environmental side, where so many environmental thresholds are being reached, and the situation is extremely serious on the environmental front. On the economic front, we're living in very uncertain times, and we don't know what the headline news of the day will bring to us in terms of economic loss, damage, and all kinds of uncertainty which is engulfing us. And of course, on the social side, we see there are not enough attempts at greater social advancement and greater social cohesion. We have also the issue of finance and of having a scaled up approach to financing the Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, we have put a lot of emphasis in the SDGs on forging partnerships, but I'm not sure that the partnerships are mature enough and are developing fast enough to result in the change that we need to see. Often when we look at SDG implementation, we think it belongs to someone else. It belongs to governments, it belongs to the business sector, it belongs to academia, it belongs to civil society. But no, I think the SDGs belong to all of us. And each one of us needs a personal Agenda 2030 to see how we can contribute in whatever small way to the realization of the SDGs. So if you go down the SDGs and you look at each one of them, there is a way in which we can personally contribute. Are we doing enough for the poor and vulnerable that we know? Are we restoring to them a life of dignity? Are we doing enough to end waste of food? Are we doing enough to end pollution of our air, water and soil? Are we buying plastics and single-use plastics? Are we throwing waste into water bodies? Across the board on the SDGs, you see that there will be ways in which you can personalize it into a personal Agenda 2030. And that is what I think is my personal approach to realizing the SDGs.